action.
But no, if Root stays, if Root does like a
wait, there it goes. Okay,
there we go.
Now it's starting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey everybody.
Hey,
make sure
how's it going?
we're here. We're live. We're gonna be talking with obviously with Paul and Mark here tonight. So I can't even.
Yeah, that way, that way, that way, that way.
Anyways,
the Brady Bunch.
So you guys have to let me know if there's any audio issues. So it's so early in the morning. So early in the morning that there's not even anybody in the chat.
Oh, we are. We're here.
Yeah, we're here, but I mean, there's 4 watching now.
No.
Hello,
Hold on
Dark
a sec.
Side of the Moon.
What I find is a lot of people, they if I do a video like my first thing in the morning, that's middle of the night in America, and a lot of people have said, they love waking up to find that there's a video that they can watch,
From you?
Yeah.
Seriously, I'd be going back to sleep if I.
Well, maybe they turn me on and it sends them back to sleep.
Right? There you go.
That's
Hey,
right.
Crockett.
Exactly.
So you guys, everybody there, all 9 of you at the moment, saw the thumbnail. I did that thumbnail just because in Stacy's recent little behind the music that he did, which those things are awesome, by the way. But anyway, he referred to Paul and I as some other guys or some other people, and I was just like, "Oh, really? We're some other people now? Are we really? Is it like that?" No, I'm just kidding. So I decided to make some fun with it. Anyway, so. And we decided we could talk about him like this when he's asleep and he can't defend himself. So
it's all in the inflection, you could say, and some other guys, right? And then you just change the way you say it, and you become important.
So anyway, we're gonna talk about. So we're gonna talk a little bit today with Paul here, who's whoops. I get that back up. All right. Whoops. So, anyway, we're going to talk a little bit with Paul about his little project with his question for Kratz. I think Mark has some sober advice. So. I think I'm along the same lines, is that to approach him. I don't know. I saw one thing where he was talking about he gets so many questions where people are just acid and because they obviously don't like him, but they're like, they come at him with like acid and it's I mean, he has to deal with that all the time, It probably makes sense that he likes it when somebody has just a well thought out question that isn't necessarily making any judgment, in the question isn't judging him, essentially, because I'm sure he looks for that now because he's been, getting so much of that, right? So I was just thinking to really get him to talk, I think it is good to come at it with a soberer hand, I guess. Maybe, even though it's like tempting to want to, to want to say something like really like get at him or something. But no, I think classy is the way to go.
Well,
and to add to that, I think the one thing they fear more than anything else is if supporters and everybody start acting classy and respectful and everything. I think that will only make them worry more, because they'll realize that people are, reasonable, but yet they're paying attention to sticking around, and the combination of those two things they may begin to find very, what's the word I'm looking for? Looming or anyways, you know what I mean. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Age before beauty. You go first, Mark.
Thank you. Age and beauty before Scottish people, right? And no, well, I mean, we all have our different views about Ken Kratz as a prosecutor and as a person, but the truth is that I think we're all, for whatever reason, we're all interested in what he has to say, and so for whatever our motives are for that. But if he's abused, I mean, just think it from a natural human point of view. If he gets abused or gets, just had, flamethrowers thrown at him, you'll go away. Is that what you want, or do you want him engaged in the discussion?
Right.
I think there's more to be gained by having him engaged in the discussion, irrespective of whether you agree with his opinions or how he says things, etc. So I think being classy and level-headed and put forward legitimate questions to him, if he's prepared to address them legitimately, well, fine. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with him or that we like him, and vice versa. He doesn't have to agree with whomever or like them either. But if he's engaged in a discussion, that's got to be a worthwhile thing, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's the way I look at it.
I mean, the more he talks, the better, right? I mean,
Yeah, I just think we need to hear his perspective.
But
it might
also,
be,
Paul, I don't know how much of our advice you need, but
his perspective can be absorbed in many ways. It might be revealing, it might be affirming stuff we already know, it might be whatever. But he is a key player in this whole sordid story, and having a dialogue with him, I think's a worthy thing.
Well, yeah.
Okay, Beauty. It's your turn, Beauty.
Well, Mark, first of all, I really liked your suggestion.
I thought he was sleeping ugly. Never mind, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's the good, the bad, and the music teacher.
There you go.
When he sent his most recent message, he keeps talking about conformation or confirmation bias, and you said quite rightly, Mark. Well, how did you put it? You said I wasn't suffering from confirmation bias. You said.
Yes, what did I say? I said basically, bias. I think I said that yes, exactly. So that's our we suffer from the desire to get to the truth, and conforming to, or if you like, in being biased towards thorough investigative and informed dialogue is, we're guilty of. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone should be, by the way. We all should be guilty of that. So.
No, I must to take everybody back about a week. I was. It's a weird thing because I was actually somewhat pleased and obviously surprised that I did get a reply from my first two messages to Ken Kratz, because normally, most people have sort of ignored, or in the case of, say, Robert Herman, who was happy to chat with me over a 6-month period. Mm-hmm. On at least a dozen occasions for like 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time. And, you've seen the emails, it was nice to chat with you, Paul. Have a good weekend, Paul. It was frank. Yes, it was, I was telling him exactly what I thought of his situation and what his sheriff department had done. But, he was, sticking to his guns, so to speak. Which I always find very interesting, because you wonder, is it a case of they've told themselves, this rhetoric that they're going to spew to everybody that asks them, have they been saying it so long that they just go along with it, or does he actually believe that? But anyway, Ken Kratz, he did reply back, but on a couple of occasions he's used this word confirmation bias. I don't think there's any confirmation bias here at all. Certainly on my behalf, I've made it quite clear that if Catherine Zellner was to produce evidence that showed that Steve was guilty, I would be one of the first one on the phone to the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, Mark Wiegert, Robert Herman in retirement, and I would apologise to him and say, look, I'm really sorry for ever questioning, ever doubting the genuine nature of the investigation. But 3.5 years later, we have never ever got anywhere near.
Paul, oh my God, Paul. Even if somehow by some miracle they are actually right, and somehow Stephen did this and cleaned it up better than a crime scene investigator expert could do it themselves, and if all those things happened, you don't apologize to them for running this crappy investigation. They got lucky. They don't deserve an apology. They ran a crap investigation. They got the crap they got because they ran the investigation they ran. That's what they're dealing with. They want to cry foul all the time. They want to claim Zellner's stalling. They want to blame it's always everybody but them. They're like a child. That's what they are. They're like a whining child. You do not go. I mean, look. Anyway, okay, you can do what you want, but that's how I feel about it.
Anyway, so just to get back to one other thing that you did say at the start, about the fact that obviously Ken Kratz is I would imagine gets a lot of people. They do send quite nasty stuff to him, and if you remember, dude, I remember when I first started out doing the videos, we used to get 1 or 2 people come on and say some of the most appalling stuff you can imagine. Yeah. And, I think we both agreed, if this guy is talking like that in his everyday life, he seriously needs some sort of psychological help, some of the things that he was saying.
Lost Mark.
Oh. But no, I think it'll be a case of his connection was maybe being a bit dodgy. Yeah, he'll be back. Mm-hmm. But you said about the fact that he'll get, he's back again. He'll get a lot of this sort of nastiness. One of the most commonly asked questions that I've seen is, you should ask him, how does he sleep at night? And I'm sure he's gonna reply with,
yes.
like a lot of married couples, in a bed next to my wife. That's how he's going to sleep. He's not going to be.
That would be a wasted question.
It would, yeah. No, the one that crops up most of the time is certainly the fact that straight after making a murder, some of his big issues, the ones that he features in the book. One of them was the fact that he, trying to say that Stephen Avery lured Teresa to the salvage yard, which I think it's pretty obvious. No, he didn't. Teresa knew perfectly fine where she was going.
Right.
But the other one was the. It
would seem she even liked Stephen. Maybe not like best buds or anything, but like it seems she may have actually kind of liked him. I think okay.
I think Mark's the guy to really talk about what is Steve like in a 1-to-1, and because I think you get on pretty well with him, don't you, Mark?
Yes, very well. If that's what you'd like me to talk about right now, so
well, I love you talking about that.
I've just recently been to Wisconsin, so I've only been back a few days, 4 or 5 days, and during that period I visited Stephen 4 times in Warpon, and one time was with his
Mark's Wi-Fi is getting spotty.
Yep.
And Sandra. Yes. So no, but the times were on my own.
There you go, dude. You've always wanted to talk with a Dalek.
There you go.
As I've said before, without labeling point.
Yeah. Your Wi-Fi is breaking up there,
Okay.
Marky.
So, can you hear me, okay, guys?
Now you're
How about hanging
now
up?
chopped up again.
You're looking like. How about I do this?
Whew. Man, move closer to the router, buddy.
I think basically what Mark has always said.
Now he's got a clear picture
he
coming
gets,
through. So how's Stephen?
Can you hear me all right now?
Oh yes,
Yes,
before
sounds much better.
you're a Dalek.
I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll be quick, just in case I have another Wi-Fi little moment. So yes, I visited him 4 times. Stephen is great. He's very positive. He's a remarkable individual considering what he's had to endure over the last, over 30 years. He has his views about the case. He's very actively interested in his case, and he knows the facts about his case. He's very pleased that the matter is now passed by Angela Sukovic and is on another journey to the Court of Appeals. So, but overall, Stephen's a nice man, and the Stephen you probably remember seeing when in that Making a Murderer 1 where he's being interviewed by the media, I think on the Thursday or some day like that, is who Stephen Avery is. He's not a saint, nor who is, but he's a decent guy, and I have absolutely no doubt that he is not responsible in any way for the death of Teresa Halbach.
Right. It just seems unlikely for a lot of reasons. Becky, Mark is back in Australia, by the way, just to answer your question. So how many games of cards did you win, and how many did he win?
He's pretty good at cards, but let me see. We would have had 3 games because the day that his mother came, we didn't play. But he won 2 and I won 1. So actually, no, he won 1, I won 1, and we tied. So we end up playing on any given day. We end up playing about 30 odd games of rummy is what we're playing. So,
rummy,
yeah. Yeah, that's good fun, actually. Steve's good fun.
It's been a long time since I played rummy. Yeah. So, Carol Ann is talking about the fact that she has left several considered questions on your YouTube video. She's hoping that you will, take a look at, I guess. So she's I did forget because somebody started talking, so she just reminded me. But anyway, she just wanted me to let you know, Paul. She left some considered questions for your consideration.
Yes, but obviously, what we've got to be careful of with Ken is that, as you probably noticed, is that there has to be questions. I think that he feels that he can answer. That he can.
Right.
He really wants, for example, to talk about the Andy Coleman phone call. He in his latest message he said, could you explain the difference between John Farrak's presentation of that episode compared with mine, and tell me which one is more factual because of the apparent selective editing of the Making a Murderer. So I mean the problem is with asking him certain questions is that you can just present him something with which he can just present a straight bat it back to you, and it's I don't think he's going to get into too much specifics.
She's going to try a couple more that are more open-ended for your consideration.
Yeah, so. I mean, to be honest, as I was saying earlier, the one I think that crops up more than any. Well, there's 2 in particular. One is, of course, how much DNA is there in sweat. And I could ask him that, but then he could quite simply come back with the response. Well, for the benefit of the jury, I abbreviated it to sweat DNA. And there's a nice.
No,
easy
at trial he
time.
He actually tells the jury. He's actually telling the jury at one point. He's like, sweat doesn't necessarily have DNA. It's actually cells, skin cells that come off in the sweat. He actually says that at trial and tells the jury that. For me, what's telling is as soon as Making a Murderer comes out, he's tripping over himself to discredit it. and talk about how one-sided it is and it's dishonest and it's all these things. And then he goes firing his mouth off about officers carrying around little vials of Stephen Avery's sweat, right? Well, why is he doing that? Of course. Why is he doing that? Because it would seem ridiculous that officers would have somehow access to vials of Stephen Avery's sweat. So it makes it all seem very ridiculous, but it also distracts people from thinking about swabs. Yeah. Which is really how it got there.
Yeah, I mean, the most important question here that has to be answered is how come there was so much DNA found on that hood latch?
Right, and that's ultimately what helps point to the swab.
Yeah. So. But no.
It would also explain why the swab is like a slight yellowish color.
Kathleen has.
Yeah, like barely yellowish color to it.
Yeah.
When you saw, I had, but way back when I first started going live, Marissa S. and Allie Apperson both did like a couple samples of hood latch swabs on a couple of their cars, and those things came out with carbon, and so therefore they were like dark black. There was dark black on the cotton swabs. And the one that came that was supposedly from Teresa's hood latch was slightly yellowish, adding to the, the whole reason why it's plausible that Mark Wiegert did hold back those swabs when they were collected early in the investigation, and that is the swab that was sent to the crime lab, and that's why it was only slightly like yellowish in color when it should have been black.
Yeah. So yes, that's one of the questions that crops up. The other one that crops up time and time again is basically along the lines of, why did you tell the jury in Stephen Avery's case that one person alone was responsible for this, and then prosecute Brendan?
Yeah.
That's the other one that crops up. I mean,
the better part is Brendan is convicted of aiding and abetting in the mutilation of a corpse, yet no one is actually convicted of that crime. Who's he aiding and abetting? I always found that to be a funny little quirk.
Yeah, I mean, I think in in Wisconsin, obviously I've tried to engage with a lot of people, including our good friend Mr. Berens, and although he replied with he doesn't know enough about the case really to form an opinion, even he said it did appear to him that Brendan was completely railroaded, and it's but you can tell that by his parody on Making a Murderer, can't you?
Well, yeah.
What was it? Convicting a husband, isn't it? Making a husband,
right?
Making a husband. It was absolutely brilliant. I love that. But the
best part of that is when it's like one of the experts is there going, now, when she says "hun" or whatever, what she's really saying is "bitch," right? And so, like, it goes back to one of her statements where she's like, now, hun, that's not true, right, hun? And, like, so it cuts back to, bitch, now that ain't true, right, bitch? Anyway, so it's hilarious. Yeah, that is one of Charlie Barron's best pieces of work right there, tell you what.
Yeah. But, yes, just to go back to a point that you made earlier, as with the conversations I had with Herman, so I'm trying to be reasonable in this. I'm not going to hurl a whole load of abuse at somebody because you're not going to get any response back at all. So you might as well be, almost friendly to that person. Listen to what they've got to say. Quite happy to read what he's got to say. And I've offered certain things, as you know. I mean, I personally, I would love it if he would come on and do a live chat. It wouldn't do Convicting a Murderer, this new series that's going to be coming out, I think, is it November? It wouldn't do any harm to just give it a bit of a preview and let us know one or two things about it. I think that's quite interesting. If you want
to test the waters on that, it'd be great if he agrees to it. Maybe you could have him on your channel.
Well, I don't have that technology. You're the IT expert now. Now that YouTube have stopped doing the hangouts. I think it was because I broke it. You know, I think
Come
I
on,
broke
Paul,
it a
if
couple
you
of
want
times.
to reel
Didn't
them
I?
in, dude, you're gonna have to be able to handle that. You're gonna have to be able to do that, make that happen, man.
Yeah,
Because
but
if you start telling him,
I-
"Oh, we got to have another person there," then he starts feeling more, apprehensive about it. You know, so you gotta step up to the plate, man.
no, because it's not
Well, it's
about
not a
me
plate, is it?
and my
It's a
channel.
wicket, right? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. It's actually the crease. The crease
The crease.
is the
There
bit
you go,
that
the
the
crease.
batsman stands in. Yes. But yeah, just
It's a
getting back to
batter's
this
box
business.
here. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes.
Hang on. Where's the havering meter? I've got
Hey,
havering
it's
warning.
right next to your sandpaper,
Havering
Mark.
warning.
It's right next to the sandpaper, buddy.
That's right. Yeah. This is your 35-minute havering warning, right?
Yeah.
So,
Him or me?
so you remember what you're talking about?
No. I think I was just talking about the fact that if you
havering meter.
if you're reasonably friendly towards somebody, or at least respectful, it goes a long way, and
Sure.
you're quite right. You know, it doesn't. I know that there'll be people out there. Why the hell would you want to talk to him? You know. I mean, is it going to make any difference in the case? No, but it's just interesting to get people's opinion from their point of view. I mean, going back to Making a Murderer 1, we only see him twice, but for me, his couple of 2-minute spots each time, that was one of the best bits of Making a Murderer, weren't they? You know who I'm on about? He's only on twice. He gives his opinion on.
Yep.
Yeah. Just recently passed away, sadly.
Oh, you're talking about Conrad Pete Bates. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have listened to him far more.
Oh, he's awesome.
That's an experienced law enforcement person that genuinely knows what he's talking about, and he's saying, look, that conflict of interest should not have happened. And we've even got Robert Herman admitting, you know, that's two things that Robert Herman and Ken Kratz have one each have said. Robert Herman has said, well, in hindsight, it would have been better had there not been that conflict of interest. Well, it's quite easy to say that now that it's already happened, isn't it? You know, it's very nice of him to say that, but it's not going to make any difference him saying that. And the other thing is Ken Kratz saying, you know, that yes, if he'd had the chance to do the whole case again, he wouldn't have done his press conference. Again, it's easy to say that, isn't it? Because the damage has been done. It's easy later on to say, oh well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. It's not going to. At the moment, I don't think it's going to bite him at all, is it?
Right. No, I don't think so. He feels pretty safe. To give an opinion on Twitter where he just automatically assumes that those bones over in the gravel pit were Teresa's, that was to me like, whoa. Oh, you're breaking up there, Mark.
Problem is the conflict behind interest of what you're hearing.
Yeah, you're breaking up, buddy.
I think he's having issues with the. I mean, yeah. I remember I've had that in the past.
Seems like he might have like a data bottleneck or something happening. Maybe a lot of people in his area are on right now.
Back again.
There he is. Hello.
Yep.
Back again.
Can I just perhaps while the signal is a bit better, the conflict of interest issue is really indefensible. It's a really fundamental issue to any professional organisation. It's, you know, they knew what they were doing was wrong. You know, as Paul says, it's all well and good to apologise apologise now, but that doesn't change the fact that what they did was wrong. And
Right.
worse still, there was no admonishment or if you like, criticism of that from the Department of Justice or anyone higher. I mean, it's like a rule that they have on the books, but one that they don't practice when it doesn't suit them. So,
Right.
Well, as Jerry points out in his book, when they do actually ban or bar Deborah Kratz from going to the scene, they finally have somebody that they can impose his conflict of interest on.
Right.
yeah, I know.
You know,
Well, they find no. The person they were barring is the one person that didn't, or well, the one department that didn't have a conflict with
Exactly.
Stevens' 85 case. Exactly. That's what makes it stand out all the more. It's like all these other ones who have a conflict with that case are allowed on. The one that doesn't is barred. That's the one that was bringing the forensic anthropologist with her, which we hear Ken Kratz go on and on and on about that's what he needs, not a coroner. What do I need a coroner for? They just come in and kick the body and go, they're dead. You know? And it's like, I mean, like I said, though, if you just talk to the guy, he will give you gold. I'm telling you.
They didn't need Manitowoc people involved. If they did need extra human resources, they could go to any other county other than Manitowoc to get those.
Yeah. I mean, if they recognized the conflict of interest, why didn't they implement it? That's what Conrad Pete Bates would say. It's like they recognized it, but they didn't implement it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the video that I tried to put on YouTube that people have come back and said it's not playing because it YouTube has sort of prevented it. It was a clip of the second series where Kathleen Zellner is talking with the Dehaan, the cremation expert, and basically, the experts are saying that there's no way that burn pit was the site of anybody being cremated, because of the amount of the amount in an open fire, the amount of fuel that you would need. Two tires is going to do nothing. You're going to need loads of tires, which is going to produce mountains of ash, isn't it? It's going to or
really
black,
you're going to need sticky, yucky.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or you're going to need like a fuel tank with hundreds of gallons pouring on this fire. There's no way. All that burn pit was used was just to burn a bit of domestic rubbish. That's all that happened there. But of course, the reason why they can't have any experts go in there and looking at the actual burn pit. Remember, they told Ertl, we've done you a favour. We've gathered up the bones now.
Yeah.
Now, if you can get your sifting equipment, but don't bother looking over here because it'll be pretty obvious that there's something dodgy going on.
Yeah, right. Well, like Tracy Strunzy's daughter said, she is, she does that work in Wisconsin, and she says, they still should have taken pictures, just to show that scene. They should have taken pictures of it.
Yeah, I mean, the very minimum, you want to see whether the bones are lying in an anatomical, sensible way, right? In other words, bones from the feet are there, bones from the head are there, and so on. I mean, that just would give you confirmation, which is what you'd want if you're law enforcement, that there was a body there. Clearly they knew what they were supposed to do. Clearly they knew they didn't want to follow that process because it would prove what they were trying to purport happen didn't in fact happen. So, and they knew that right from the beginning. They didn't know it, 6 weeks later. Mm-hmm. They knew it the very time, which was November 8th or something. They found those bones. 3 days after they found the car. This wasn't something they dreamt up, downstream. This was all part of the scheme, and when they had access to the Avery compound for 10 days, they schemed all this stuff. There's no question about that, none whatsoever. And it's it's just remarkable. It seriously is remarkable. And of course, back in 2005 and 6 and 7, leading up to the trial, no one, of course, understandably at the time knew what we now know and the mere existence of the documentary and all that's gone with that. They thought they were just immune from probing eyes. It was what they've always done, managed the circumstances. So,
what's up, T1?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to these law enforcement people going around the salvage yard, if they genuinely came across these bones in the burn pit, they're going to go, "Wow, look, we've found her." In effect, what they're then going to do is they're going to get the cameras in. They're going to get quite long distance. They're going to medium distance. They're going to go very close up. You're going to have loads and loads of photographs of this. I often wonder, maybe they did take some photographs. I wonder if they're in Tom Fassbender's possession. But no, I don't think they ever took any photographs, because they wouldn't have been they would have been so damning, wouldn't they?
No.
Because it would have just been a pile of bones that have been dumped out.
Yeah, the bones were simply dumped from one of the burn barrels in a fire.
Yeah.
And maybe pushed around a bit. That's all that would have happened.
Well, but we hear account of the fact that when Ertl arrives, we've already gathered up the bones so that you can put them on your sifting equipment. I can imagine they just dumped them and then said, we've gathered them up for you. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That they would know. That is, Calumet and Manitowoc would have known there was a protocol for handling that sort of circumstance, and they would have known that. They would have also actively decided they weren't going to follow it. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they did that is because that if they were to follow it, it wouldn't suit the story they were about to tell the world.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the one justification for having Manitowoc there, officers, was because apparently they are crackerjack evidence technicians. So they should have.
Colburn and Link supposedly were. T1 is asking, was this premeditated or frame up on the fly?
Oh, you mean the bones?
Well,
I think the whole case.
No, I
the bones,
they
had time because they were found on the 8th. I mean, there was time to fabricate that and figure out what to do. I mean, essentially, kind of. Go ahead.
My view about premeditation is kind of exists at two levels. Was there premeditation about Teresa's death? In as far as law enforcement's concerned, I say to that no. But was there premeditation once that opportunity presented itself, in terms of how they were going to present the discovery evidence? I'd say yes to that. So I don't think law enforcement were directly involved in Teresa's death, but they certainly saw an opportunity to deal with a problem that they had emerging for themselves, and everything from that moment on was premeditated. That would be my opinion.
Right.
One of my big problems of this case is the fact that I'm sorry for going on about this, the quality of the journalism. When you've got Mike Holbach saying that the grieving process, when she's only a missing person, but then what's really interesting, he doesn't just say it's the grieving process. It's the fact that he says the grieving process could take days. You know,
he can imagine himself getting over his sister's death in days. I kind of thought that was a little odd as well, but
The thing about that is it just throws a lot of speculation on the idea that Teresa could still be alive.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very, very contentious issue. I seem to remember Steve Drizzen saying, if you're going to come to me and tell me that Teresa is alive and well
usually
somewhere,
most people hope against hope until they have definitive proof. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of a problematic statement Mike made. I mean, so.
Listen, I'm going to have to shoot off because I've got to go and do some lessons, and then I've got to come back and hopefully watch some England cricketers. So I'm going to say cheerio. I know that you've got. It must be coming up for 2 a.m. over there. I am tired. In Crunch Island.
Yeah, Crunch Island.
And as for Australia, it must be 9 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock.
10 minutes to 7 Sunday evening.
Oh,
10 minutes to 7 Sunday evening.
Right. Are you gonna stay up and watch some of the cricket?
I only have to stay up for 10 minutes. I'll be all over by then.
Oh, you love rubbing it in, don't you?
Yeah. You betcha.
So anyway, I'm going to say cheerio and catch up with you later, dude.
Yeah, we'll see you, buddy.
Okay. Cheers.
See you, Paul.
Thank you for being here.
Take care.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
All right.
Here we go.
So, well, that's interesting, right? Anyway, I'm eager to see what Paul ends up doing with this, because somebody pointed it out earlier in the live chat that he does a really good job of really, interviewing people and keeping the flow of questioning kind of going. He's kind of does have a knack for it, and somebody was pointing it out earlier. So it'd be interesting if he's able to keep Kratz, talking. It'll be interesting. I think he has a chance.
Oh, or listening it is probably more to the point.
Right, or listening, right.
Yeah.
But so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, there's, as we said earlier, there's a lot of sort of volatile discussion that happens on social media and on Twitter and etc. But, and to some degree you can understand that, but I don't think it's helpful to the cause. If the cause is the pursuit of the truth in this matter, I don't think it's helpful to the cause to be bashing people. That's just going to send them away. And so I think if you can engage civilly with someone, that's how to do it.
Yeah. I think it's fun. I've always found it fun
Hey,
to go over on Paul's channel, so,
Hey, I want to show you something.
All right.
This is, I'm not sure whether you, when I'm looking at the screen here, I'm just like a little thumbnail. So I'm not sure when I hold up this sign. Can you see the sign? Is it?
You can see the top of it. Go a little higher. A little bit. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Now we all live on Avery Road.
We all. Yeah. This was made for me by Blaine Dassey.
Oh, cool. I saw his Facebook page for his little woodworking stuff.
Yeah. This is he. In addition to his normal job, he has his own little business. I think with someone else now as well, doing custom sort of woodworking things.
Right.
And I asked him, would he make me a sign? This is when I was there in June, and he made me that sign, and I have it in my home now, so which is lovely.
All right, now you got to take that to all the iconic spots around in Australia, Sydney there, when you start, next time you're down in Melbourne.
Yep.
Make sure you go and get one in front of the convention center just to, real quick. Just take it and run before they come and start telling you that,
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's right, at the football. Yeah.
or there.
Yeah.
The football match was funny, man. I mean, those two officers, you could tell the one dude, even when he was like seeing what we were about, he was like still not amused, not happy. You could just still, he was just like, but
they go to the same school as immigration officers.
Yeah.
You've gone through an airport and an immigration officer is actually friendly. You really, occasionally you do. It's pretty rare. They all have this gruff, serious face about them, like they're not allowed to be nice.
When I was coming back from Australia, I had a lady who was joking around with me, kind of. She was like, she saw that I had Vegemite. And she
in Australia or
when I was coming back from Australia, and when I was arriving in the United States here, I just was like, stopping there to let her do whatever, and as she looks and sees the Vegemite, she's like, "You went with Vegemite?" I was like, "Well, something iconic in Australia," and she says, "You should have tried the licorice." I didn't know. I was like, really? Oh, well, I like licorice. Next time I'll try to check it out or something, But anyway. So she was actually like initiating a jovial kind of conversation with me. So I was like, hey, yeah, whatever, yeah, cool. But anyway.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I
Hey, one
remember
thing I
when
wanted to mention
I remember when
is
I
that
was leaving Australia, your customs kind of messed with me, made me go through a second check and all this. It was really odd. I was like, oh, what the hell? I totally lost Stacy. I mean, it was like, because I had to go through this second check. It was like, I was just like, what the hell? Anyway, but.
hey, one thing I was going to suggest, and maybe you could help facilitate this by posting a link somewhere, is that leading up now to the Court of Appeals process with Kathleen Zellner, is that people go back and read her motions, because there's been so much information accumulated in the last 2 years that hasn't yet had its proper day in court. That it's sometimes easy to forget just how much ammunition she does have in this matter. A lot of the conversation in recent times has been about the CD and the bones and so on, but the volume of other evidence and other arguments that she's accumulated is
the original motion for post-conviction relief, right?
Yeah,
there's a
and
lot
sometimes
of
it's
stuff there.
easy to forget that.
Yeah,
It'd be a good thing for people to have just a quick reread of that, or it maybe even could be potentially synopsis discussion by yourself as a live chat about the synopsis issues associated with the original motion.
Yeah.
Without going in it word by word.
So that's why Tracy Strunze was saying this motion that Zellner is going to be filing with the Court of Appeals is going to be like, she's like, I'm not looking forward to reading it. She's like, because it's going to involve everything. That means whatever she's still going with from the original motion for post-conviction relief, along with the CD and all the issues around that, and along with the bones and the due process and all that and everything that goes along with that. So this thing's going to be weighty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Indeed. Yeah.
So
it's always good, in my opinion, it's always good to kind of refresh your mind about all the issues, so that there's so much stuff it's easy to forget. So,
Caroline, I'm not sure yet. As far as I know, the record isn't back to the Court of Appeals yet. The way Tracy explained it is that as soon as the record is back with the Court of Appeals, there will be a 40-day clock. So I haven't heard that the record's made it back to the Court of Appeals yet. Sorry.
No problem.
So, all right. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again, my friend.
And to you, sir.
I'm excited to see what
thank you for everyone for
Paul
listening
does with this opportunity as well.
Yeah. That
Make sure you say hi to Stephen for me.
I will, for sure. That, by the way, I'll call it a documentary, that Convicting a Murderer thing. When is that due out? Did Paul say November sometime?
When's what?
Convicting a Murderer.
Oh, I don't actually. Has it been picked up yet? I mean, I keep hearing they're having trouble getting picked up. Like Netflix decided they didn't want them, and like I don't know. Like I heard they were talking to HBO, and I heard, so it's like, I don't know. I heard they're maybe having some issues, but I don't know. I imagine they're gonna make it eventually, but
yeah, I don't know. So,
but anyway,
yep.
I can't wait to see it myself.
All right, well, great to speak with you.
Yes, it was great to speak with you as well, my friend.
Yeah, be interesting.
So, it was a lot of fun when we came there to Australia, buddy. Look forward to doing it. Hopefully less than 5 years in the future, to be able to come back there and really go check it out. There's a lot of Stephen and Brendan supporters over in Adelaide, right? But no.
Oh, they're everywhere in Australia.
It would be good to go
support in Australia.
Maybe go over and hit the west coast of Australia over there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know,
yeah.
But that would be fun. Hopefully, we'll get to do that.
Well, the party I'm looking forward to is when the boys get
release party, yeah,
and be home. Yeah, that'll be the fun thing.
Which would definitely be much sooner.
Absolutely.
Well, at least I hope.
In fact, when Kathleen Zellner gets a post-conviction hearing, which I'm absolutely certain she will, I think I've got to go. I just got to go I've got to go and see her in action in a courtroom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would be awesome.
Tickets will be at a premium, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
So,
hey, look at who you got. You gotta email Fallon to get into the seating arrangement. So
that's
no, I'm
right.
just kidding.
Yes, I didn't realise he was into promotions. Right. Yeah. He's a rock. Well, I guess he probably manages rock bands like Alibi and so on, right? So.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been fun, buddy. And
you too. Take care and all the best.
Yep. And thank you everybody out there for being here and tuning in. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. Make sure you hit it for Paul over there on his channel as well. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye for now.